Hi, everyone. Okay, welcome to Tiger Talk Thursday. We are at episode 25 and we have Craig. Okay, wait, why is it Craig RHINO Smith? Describe where RHINO comes from.
RHINO came from the NBA. It came from actually Kevin McHale, Hall of Famer.
Yay.
Uh, Actually, in one practice, I had to do a rookie duty where I had to play in like my tights and just my jersey.
Was this a like a recruitment thing? Little initiation?
Yeah, initiation. What you gotta do as a rookie.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you may mess up or they just call you out. So I was a little bit frustrated that day, but I was going at everybody. I was just running through everybody like a rhinoceros, pretty
Oh,
much.
I
And then
love it.
Kevin McHale comes in. You know, he talks kind of like Macho Man Randy Savage at times. Oh brother, hey brother, like you're running through people like a rhinoceros, brother. And next thing you know, it's stuck with me till 2007, and I'm seeing it on billboards, and I mean,
No
Bible.
way. That's
So it's
awesome.
there you go.
Well, for those of you that are new to the series Life After Sports, it's a very near and dear topic to my heart. I do have friends I know that are suffering in silence. I mean, we as athletes, I
Yeah.
played hockey, you played basketball. I mean, the discussion goes far and wide across the globe, and the mission is to help those that are suffering in silence and know that there is a community here to support them. So, Craig, welcome to the call. I'm just going to quickly introduce you. I've got your so you graduated from Fairfax High School. You attended Worcester Academy for a year as a postgraduate student before college, and then you went on to Boston College. I was at UNH,
Yes.
so we were
Yeah.
close to each other with the Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology. He was selected by the Minnesota Timberwolves with the 36th overall pick in the 2006 NBA draft. What a dream come true. He also played for the Portland Trailblazers and most notably for the Los Angeles Clippers. After a stint in the NBA, he went overseas and played for teams in Israel and China. That would have been cool. I can't wait to hear about that. And you're now an ambassador for your former team, the LA Clippers, a recent author with your children's book, which I looked it up, Craig and His Magical Basketball. I want to hear about. Assistant coach at Crossroads in Santa Monica, and the director of partnerships. Is it Sootchy? Sootchy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you just finished the NBPA's Broadcaster U. So welcome. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Just to be clear for my people out there, it's Worcester.
Oh,
I
sorry.
know
Worcester.
everybody
Worcester.
says Worcester, but I
What?
gotta
Oh,
shout
I
out
should have asked
Worcester.
that.
It's like
Worcester.
silence.
You know
Worcester.
what? Is that in the Boston area?
Yes.
Okay, I should have known better because of my teammates from Boston. I should have known better, and I have seen that before, and I should have checked. Thank you for correcting me.
You know, I just
Sorry
want to
if
make
I
sure I had
offended.
no, I want to make sure I had your back. I ain't want your Boston people, to get on your case, or people from Worcester. So
Perfect. Well, I appreciate that. It means you're a good teammate, so I appreciate it.
no problem. No
So
problem.
talk to us about let's talk about 36 overall pick getting into the draft. I mean, when you were younger, did you have were you obviously any athlete if you are showing any type of what's the word I'm looking for? Natural talent. Obviously the highest level is on the dream, but was that something that you were gunning for?
Absolutely. It was something that I felt like I was destined for.
Oh wow.
When my mom put the ball in my hands, it really felt magical. It was something of a euphoria for me, and I just knew like this is going to be something that's going to be part of my life forever.
Brilliant.
And I just began working, but I
Did you
love the
sleep?
game
Did
so
you sleep with
much.
your ball?
Yes, I sleep with my ball. Matter of fact, where my ball at? It's somewhere.
I
It's
think I saw.
close
Do you
in
have a little one,
Bonneville.
or do you have it, or was that is that your little baby that I saw with the ball?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and you're giving it to him at 8 months.
Yeah, that was my first time I gave him an actual NBA ball. So I said, you got to do one step up. You got to be better than me. So I had a basic ball. So you got an NBA ball. So like, geez.
And a 3 year advantage, to get going.
Absolutely. I
So
mean,
you get drafted. What was that experience like? So again, life after sports, the focus, I mean, but we'll get into it, whether it be injury, retirement, or unforeseen circumstances, but there's also transitions that athletes go through in their career that are very mindset driven. I imagine changing teams that has it. So can you just share with the listeners maybe that are going through transition or changing teams or what that experience was like in the NBA? And then we'll talk about life after the league.
yeah, for sure. All right. So just being picked in the NBA, first and foremost, as a 36 pick was the ultimate blessing. I didn't really work out for teams. I was injured. I felt like I would have went earlier,
Okay.
and that's the discussion I had with like a lot of teams. But I never worked out for Minnesota, and it just worked out. So that was cool, and I got to share a
Cool.
moment with my mom, a full circle, being that, hey, we did it, like
Uh,
so we just hugged it out. But just being in the NBA and starting it out in Minnesota, I mean, I was already kind of familiar with Boston, so being from a cold area, but just that experience of being able to learn as a young adult and learn the process of being in the NBA and how serious it is.
yeah.
I had an absolute blast and growing and continue. But you're right, there are certain struggles, but I actually got to be a part of a blessing because when I got traded to go home.
Oh, so you got immediate family and support network right there.
Oh yeah, and it's just like, well, I don't have to go anywhere now. So like now I can really like continue to like really focus in. But then it's just like my family and friends can come and see me at the games now. And it's like a full circle moment. Like I'm an LA kid now, and now I get to play for one of the
Ooh,
pro teams in the
I just
city.
got chills when you said that. Yeah, that's pretty special when you have that home advantage. What had you did you go through any transitions where maybe you were I remember one time when I was playing, like I went from first line to fourth line, and I remember having to sit down with my coach being like, what do I need to do? What happened here? Did you
No,
throughout your playing career, did you have any of those experiences?
oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, especially like just getting traded and coming to the LA Clippers, like I know it's going to be a tall task because I'm kind of behind like some big time legends. I mean, Marcus Camby, Blake
Yeah.
Griffin just gets drafted, and you have DeAndre Jordan and Chris Kaman. Like, where do I fit in? So there was a ton of talks of like, how can I be able to get on the court? What do I need to do? And they issued and communicated greatly, say, hey, I think you need to be a rebounder. You need to come in and make sure you can score the ball. We know you're a playmaker, but you have to always be in the positives out
Yeah.
there, and being that of a certain situation that, certain Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers like are ahead of you,
Yeah.
like when you get in, you got to make sure you take advantage of that opportunity. And which that was new to me because in Minnesota, had started and mostly came off the bench, either sixth, seventh, close to eighth man. So like I knew I was always going to be in the rotation, so being traded and not knowing what to expect, like it was kind of
Yeah.
like it was tough, but at the same time, you just try to figure it out in those situations. And I think it always go back to what I usually do: just put my hard hat on, keep working, and just
Yeah.
keep learning. And then when it's time, be ready.
Well, and I love that. So did you what was your headspace at? Because naturally, just when we started talking, big smile. There's a very friendly energy from you. We've never met before. We were introduced through another guest on the series, but did you ever struggle with that? Man, like I wish I was playing. I'm not getting the playing time, or did you always have this like, I'm just grateful to be here, and you kept the main thing, and you just knew that if I just put my blood, sweat, and tears in this, I'm gonna get the playing time when it's right and ready when it's ready for me.
Yeah, so I always felt like I was thankful to be given this opportunity to play this game. Like I've been destined for it. So like I'm thankful, like God, thank you. But then it comes a point of
Yeah.
competitiveness where you always want to be on the floor, and you felt like, hey, I'm working on pretty hard in practice where I'm busting people up too.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing that opportunity like transition to the floor. So,
Mm.
that's a definite tough moment where you really got to assess some things and be like, what is great for me or what works for me, because I love this game so much. But like it hurts me to be viewership, but I know the sacrifices you have to make for a team. But then when it does it come the opportunity like for you to where all this hard work to get
Yep.
here and to stay here, like where does that hard work like showcase itself?
And then what year did you decide to go overseas? What year was that? So how many years in the NBA?
Uh 6 years.
6 years. I thought, yeah, that's what I thought I had. And then you went
And
over to Israel and China. That would have been an amazing life experience.
yeah, so
Culture shock.
such a culture shock, but I mean, not really, because I felt like I was already kind of traveled. Like for me in my life growing up, I kind of moved around a lot, so it was a little bit comfortable. And then at the age of
Got it.
17, I moved to Boston. LA kid moving to Boston at 17 years old, so that was like my first culture shock. So it was like, okay, this is nothing new, and I'm down for the experience. But I felt like at that time, it was going to, and there was already an NBA lockout, and there was just
Oh,
certain things that I felt like, hey, I'm not really getting the playing time. I don't really know what's going on. I know I'm an NBA player, but let me figure out what else is out there for me and my experiences. So
So
God
what did
chose
you
me.
do? I love when people share this advice, but behind closed doors, when someone says that, like if there's a young athlete watching and they're feeling that same way and they're in your previous situation, were you connecting with other players? Were you reaching out to other coaches? Were you what would you be doing to kind of see maybe I fit somewhere else? What would you be doing behind closed doors? Or maybe you're not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, no, actually, it was about, you got to understand the business and look at the market. You got to talk to your agent. You got to talk to, your certain friends that may have relationships in the NBA. But then you got to also think, like what else is there for me? Because
Yeah.
I always felt like I had the chance to come back, but I just needed to really showcase like what my true potential in my game was. And for me, it wasn't about going to the G League. It was just like going and getting like a new start, a new beginning. And it was just making sure I tried to do my diligence as much as possible, because when you get in the NBA, it's a job too. So you have to do your work. You have to
Yeah.
understand the business.
Yeah, that's a
And
really good point for athletes. They don't realize the business side. It's not just playing the game you love. Like there's such a business side to it.
yeah, your emotions get involved in it because you love this game so much.
Yeah.
So you can get emotionally attached to certain things. And that's why guys, you can get attached to cities and certain things. And how could they trade me? I've been so devoted to this town and
Yeah.
doing things, but it's just like you have to understand that. So you have to keep a fine line between that emotion and the business.
And are you spiritual? Like to keep
Yes.
you grounded? I just feel like I find a lot of
Person,
athletes that I speak to that are what's that?
I was gonna look for my sage, but my sage is over there. But yeah.
Did you sage before we got on?
No, I didn't get a chance to. I mean, I lit it a little instant, but like, but
I just find those athletes that I speak to that do have some sort of, whether they meditate, journal, they believe in God, they believe in the universe, spirit, source, whatever. I do believe that really helps them through their transitions because they don't feel alone, right? And they feel like, give it to God or give it to. So that's why I was curious if that helped you along your transitions.
no, absolutely. I was fortunate enough to be able to start meditation around in college. So I was
Oh,
thankful to go to Boston College, and we did it as a team. And
oh, I love that.
we had a guy named George Mumford. He was a big guy who was around Phil Jackson and the Bulls and Kobe and Shaq at the Lakers. Just big on deep meditation, deep breathing, positive mindset, and
I
really
love that.
manifesting what you want to do out there on the floor before you get there, and how nothing else matters, and focusing on an objective and task. So I got to do that early. So that was cool. But then I felt like, going in the league, like, things get different. You don't do certain team oriented things. So like I really had to figure out like what I needed to do to make sure I prepare myself to be at the most elite
Okay,
level.
so tell us, what did you do to prepare behind closed doors? Because this is a part that I'm super passionate about. Like when I do mindset and resiliency coaching with athletes, I talk about journaling, I talk about meditation, I talk about obviously visualization and all that stuff. And we know in pro sports we do video and we're analyzing our teammates. But what is your routine? Like for me, I would wake up, I would journal, meditate, then journal again, go get a workout and whatever. And I only got into meditation after my breast cancer experience. Like I tell people now, I'm like, if you guys can start doing this now, you will blow your people away because you'll be so much more mentally tough. So what was your routine?
So actually I started the night before, and
Like you
yeah,
started the night before the game? I love
I
that.
would read 10 to 20 pages of a book. I like science fiction or
Yeah.
something fun. So I would read that. Then I would try to just like be calm, make sure like TV's not on, things like that. Get prepared, go to the game. I mean the shoot around. Make sure I get a lift in before, and then I lift in before shoot around, then shoot around, then I get a nap in. Now, after the nap, now this is what is very important,
Okay,
because
listen up, people. Listen, after the nap, golden nugget coming.
when I'm getting up, I'm visualizing what I need to do out there on the floor and what I want to do out there on the floor. So
I
it
love
even
that.
goes in certain situations that I know, because we game plan. So we already have a game plan for shoot around. So I know their defensive and offensive strategies. Now, my thing is defensively and offensively, how do I win my matchups, right? And what do I need to do, right? So I got to make sure I'm out working. So I'm visualizing myself doing that. And I've been visualizing for a long time because it goes, that's how I manifest this being of becoming an NBA player. Because in my backyard, I used to imagine myself in an arena playing against Magic Johnson, right?
Yep.
And manifesting that.
If
So
you can see him, you can be him, right? If you can see her, you can be her. I love that.
and so
And did
it's
somebody teach you that, or did you just, as a child, you just cultivated that yourself?
well, one of the things of I cultivated myself, but then it was just like you get confirmation,
Mm.
right? And when you hear people talking, it's like, oh, okay, now that's what that is now. Because I'm a kid, right? I don't
Yep.
actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then until somebody explains it. So then I go to
You
what
get
was
the
it, Nike?
external validation and you're like, okay, okay.
Yeah, so Nike had this All America camp. And back in the day at this All America camp, before like you get into like playing guys, you have these classes like the first 2 days. And then these classes are like more like workshops. So in one of these classes, which was cool, the guy was talking about visualizing how to play
Wow.
before you actually go out there. And I was like, oh, so I just sat back and be quiet. I didn't want to be one of those kids like, yeah, ooh,
I already
yeah,
do
I know.
that.
It's just like, oh yeah. So it's about that. Like, especially on your journey, you're going to get a lot of confirmations because sometimes you don't have understanding of what you're doing. And then it feels like God shows you or tells you, like, oh, this is what you're doing. Like, I didn't know, like, even when I was a kid and I would go to my high school at Fairfax at 6:30 in the morning, I didn't know I was developing a routine. I just loved the game of basketball.
I
When
love that. Yep. That's powerful. That's really cool. And I do believe, I mean, visions that I've had for myself since I was younger have come to fruition. And I talk about this with my athletes all the time. So I love that you actually have lived that out. And then to go to the NBA, everybody's dream, right? The pro sport. So let's talk about life after sports. Now, was it Israel or China that was your last stop?
So it was Israel. I
Israel?
was the number one player in the country, and I had ended up getting a shoulder injury at the end of the season,
Ooh.
and I decided to come back home. And then when I came back home, was getting that fixed, but then had compensation issues and ended up tearing my Achilles.
Oh no. While you're still healing the shoulder?
Yeah, so,
Were you
and
trying to
having
play basketball with the other hand, or was the other, which one was it, the dribbling hand or the other?
no, it was my left shoulder. So,
Okay.
like it was a three, I think a 3-point tear or something like that in my AC joint,
Ooh.
which is close to kind of being separated off and having that surgery. But so I was close and I was thankful. So I just regular rehab and had my NBA guys when I came back, but
So when
then
people, sorry, go on. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying. Then going into tearing my Achilles, trying to get ready and get back because there was a lot of opportunities still because I just came
Okay.
up being the number one player in the country.
So could you have gone back to the NBA?
Yeah, there was NBA opportunities. There was actually, which was funny. I had like almost a 40-point game, and this is kind of after I had a concussion the night before.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I was actually in the hospital till like 1 a.m. and they didn't let me come to shoot around. So I came in around 4 p.m. But I still feel like I was in a dream state. And my dream state turned into like a 39-point
You've awesome. Well, don't go
uh,
doing that. Don't go doing that again. You don't want to be in that headspace. But
right?
so that's a big one that I noticed with athletes. So three ways typically we leave sport. We retire, injury, or unforeseen circumstances that you have to deal with. Now, when there's an injury, that's an abrupt break with your sport, right? So what was that? What, again, you seem like because of meditation, I would probably say and predict that you didn't take it as hard as maybe someone who didn't have such a strong mindset and belief system. But did it really affect you? Like mental health is really important to me. And I mean, a lot of people, they identify with their sport. I try to tell athletes all the time, your sport is what you do. It's not who you are. Had you already had some of those lessons along the way and you had that awareness, or was this an identity issue for you when basketball, when you couldn't play anymore?
This is an identity issue, and this was absolutely crushing.
Yeah.
This is something that I love for a long time that abruptly shuts down. And
Yeah.
then now all of a sudden, like things are getting quiet just based upon like time continuing, and you can't really do nothing because you're completely injured. and it's a significant injury. So for
Yeah.
me, mentally, there was a lot of emotions. I had to think about abruptly now at life after basketball. Like, I've done basketball my whole life now. Like, I know I went to Boston College and all, but at the same time, like, what
Yeah.
does this look like now? And then now it's like almost forced. And,
Yeah.
like, that puts you in certain moods. I felt like I was a little bit moody at times about things, to be
Little bit
honest, or
irritable.
a little irritable, like angry,
Yeah.
victim,
Mm, that's a big one.
right? We play the victim. And it took some time and some growth, and you got to learn through certain experiences. But I believe all those experiences ended up making me better anyway, and really understanding my purpose and understanding that my childhood goals will not be the same as my adulthood goals, right? I
Yeah.
conquered all my goals. And then now I'm left with sitting down with an injury. What's next?
Yeah. So how did you navigate that for athletes that are listening?
Just try to stay positive. There's certain times you try to reach out or talk to different people, whether it be a significant other or actual therapy. But there is somebody that I feel like you need to have an outlet for. And for me, my outlet can be in different ways, like an outlet to my mom, outlet to some of my friends.
Yeah.
I just feel, because for me, I do have the outlet because there's not a lot of people like me in this regard. I'm only one of 5,100. So, like, this is a different experience.
Yeah.
And how I'm treated is a different experience, like, especially on the daily. I'm not a Kobe Bryant, but at the same time, I'm Craig Smith, somebody who's actually made himself uh, an NBA player coming from a big city like Los Angeles. And that
Yeah.
does things. And you have to understand, like, all right, well, how can I capitalize based upon the hard work that I did and the hard work that I'm going to continue to do? Because it just doesn't stop. I love so many things that I know I want to do. So then it goes, now I have an opportunity to actually go out and try this. And I think that's what was scary for me, because it goes, well, one situation, things are shutting down, and like, this is big time money over here. You are like, you have to give something else a chance and start all over, which is going to be totally different.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, if you want to shoot for things like the NBA, like I did, it goes, well, I loved it at first. I had a passion for it. So I have to find that passion in these other endeavors that really create some type of euphoria for me as an adult, like an NBA did for me as a kid. And I
Yep.
believe it's going in that manner, but it wasn't easy. No,
Yeah.
it's never easy. Nobody's perfect. And
Do
I
you
think
write it
that's,
out for you, or how do you, when you go do your goals? Like, I've got my actually vision board here behind me, but are you someone, when you were thinking, or were you just like, are you someone who, I'm just going to try this, see if I like it? Because I mean, you're an author, Craig and His Magical Basketball, which I can't wait to read it. You're also coaching different partnerships, and then you went back for broadcaster university.
yep, and broadcast you.
So what was that, which came first? Was it author first and then you went back to coaching, or like what was the inspiration behind Craig and His Magical Basketball? Or was that kind of like a nickname growing up, because you had your ball with you all the time?
No, it was just, I wanted to inspire the next generation or the younger generation or any type of generation, just when it comes to reading, to having something that's a very inspirational story that can
Yes.
really propel you, the individual, the child, into really focusing what he or she likes
Yeah.
or he or she wants to do at an early age, like I did.
I love that. Yeah. So for anyone listening, it's Craig and His Magical Basketball. I'm gonna have to get myself a copy. And what I love now, had you always had this community? Like, are you someone who's big on community and giving back? You just seem like you have a really kind heart. And obviously coaching and mentoring, obviously if you're writing a book for the next generation, clearly you're passionate about that. Did you have role models in this arena growing up, or you were just someone who, you realized you love giving back and helping others?
Well, one, I was a big time observer.
Mm.
And, growing up in just the areas that I grew up in, I just seen a lot of war and different type of mentality that just forced me into wanting to really do something great and be a positive figure in the community. and be somebody of that type of mentor that I can always say I can go back into that community or any community in Los Angeles, and be that type of inspiration. We got to see a lot of negative stereotypes growing up. And I think that's what fueled me to want to be one of the positive ones. And then now just having an opportunity and platform, being one of 5,100, like it's part of my duty. It's part of my civil duty to make sure I go out and let kids know it's possible to do anything you want. And now they have an even grander platform than we did. And I felt like in my era, we were some cool kids too, growing up in the 80s.
I know. So. Could you imagine with social media today with the platforms and people? What I loved about what you were saying is, so when I typically, so I have a workbook. It's not around here right now, but I have a workbook. So when I get a call from a parent or an athlete that, you know, they're feeling stuck and they don't know how to transition, one of the first things I have them do is write down what you don't want. It's easy to know. Sometimes if they don't know what that vision is for what's next, it's like, okay, well, what is not working in your life right now? But what was coming up for me, as you were saying, that's why I believe hardship and going through, I mean, I've been through divorce, I've been through bankruptcy, and I've been through breast cancer. I am grateful for all three of them. I wouldn't be who I am today without that hardship. But when you're describing where you grew up, that's all I was thinking. I was like, you got a mental visual of what you don't want. So you got to decide what you do want. And that's where that vision and that clarity of thought came from, right? Some people don't have that gift. Some people have no adversity. And then 25, their first big something happens and they're lost and they don't know what to do with themselves. So to me, I feel like when I see a lot of these people that have these success stories, you notice there's a lot of adversity in the beginning that's surrounding them, and they just made a decision that it wasn't going to be that way. So that's pretty cool. Does that resonate with you when I say that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I mean, I've dealt with certain hardships similar to you as well, within divorce, death, bankruptcy, things like certain things that like really affected me, like even having certain issues with agents and trusting issues. Like I went through certain hells, but I think for me, it went, two negatives don't make a positive. So in my regard, I'm still alive. I'm still here for a reason. Maybe a lot of people would think differently, but for me, I have so much of a purpose and so much to give that my talent isn't just on basketball. It's much more, but it's going to be impacted because of that.
And what would you say the essence of Craig RHINO Smith is? How would you describe?
I see Craig, RHINO's like an alter ego. First of all, RHINO's like his own thing, because like RHINO gets in.
So is RHINO just only in the basketball court?
I think basketball court, or maybe like competitiveness, right?
Yeah.
So like shooting pool, right? Video games, like RHINO, or like, you know, RHINO does have a soft side, and RHINO likes to come out for the kids when he's reading this book.
Oh, that's true. I love that. So now you're coaching, you're assistant coach at Crossroads in Santa Monica. That's still currently correct. And what's next for you, or what are you focused on? And then I have one last question before we wrap it up. But what is it that your vision for yourself now is? What are we seeing for you next?
Man, there's just so much I want to do and so much more I have to do. I mean, there's more children's books. There's anime.
Okay.
There's a lot of things I definitely want to do on the production side of things, to show my visualization. I mean, I am a kid from Los Angeles, and I feel like I have a very good perspective. And being that I have been not, I wouldn't say well-traveled, but having to travel around the world has given me these tons of experiences that I feel like can shine a light and be put on the screens for documentaries, movies, and etc. So,
what would you say your superpower is? Like in terms of, I would say compassion or empathy is one of my superpowers, but what would you say is a superpower of yours?
I don't know. I guess I would be like a phoenix, because I feel like I can endure so much, but then come out as a burst of light and energy, in a really positive way, though.
I want to steal that one. I like that one better. I resonate with that a lot. I believe that as well. I love that. And then for any athlete that is sitting there in a dark headspace, for whatever reason, life after sport has not gone the way you wanted. I mean, I don't think I've had anyone really talk about money on since I've done this interview, but I was listening to Kurt David. He was being interviewed. He played in the NBA, and he was the he produced the Glory Days, the episode, but he was talking a lot about money. And you brought up a little bit about your agent and stuff like that. But out of curiosity, is there anyone training, like when you sign a big contract, like, is there an advisor there for you to say, I mean, at the end of the day, I know it's your money and you get to do what you want with it, but did you ever feel that where it's like, okay, I'm living one way and then the paycheck's cut off, that you had to run into that?
No, I felt like, well, first for me going to BC, I had a little bit of understanding. My thing was there was just some things called distractions that people do, or manipulative things that they can deter or project things to make you see them. So me, it was just the fact that I was a little bit young and didn't really like understand, like, hey, like you have a job to do, versus being like, oh, I can understand that. So I guess I can take more of a friend approach. You really have to make sure that you're just about your business and nothing more ever. I mean, it's good to have certain friendships, but I think there comes a point in the line of friendships and business, especially when it comes with like agent and player and different things. And today's game is a little bit different because there's more knowledge, there's more things. Like a lot of people don't go through certain things like that. But in that time, it was like kind of still like the beginning of that. So for me, it was still like you still had guys who were kind of slimy who can project one thing like they're a certain type of way. Meanwhile, they're just not really good people.
Yeah, for sure. Manipulate the situation, bend it in their favor. So, and then lastly, for somebody that is suffering in silence, they're in a dark headspace for whatever reason, their life after sports is, and I kind of don't, when I say life after sports, it's kind of life after sports as you know it, because everything can adapt and you can evolve. Like I've talked to some para athletes or that are now, quadriplegic and they're playing wheelchair basketball or they're getting into sledge hockey. It's so cool. And it's unreal what they can do for people. I work for a company called Sunrise Medical, and it's just what we're able to do for these kids and athletes. But what would you say to someone who's sitting there and they're just like, they're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel? What would you say to them?
The day is darkest before dawn. You just never know how close you are to something great. And like for the young guy, you need to understand, like, it's a reason that you need to learn this lesson so you can be able to evolve. And it happens to everybody. Mostly all the athletes go through, something, especially after not playing no more, whether you're a superstar or not. But the point of the matter is to remain positive and understand that you need to learn and grow, because now it's a turning point. That opportunity and that window has closed, but there are new windows and opportunities and doors for you. So you just got to keep your head up and keep pushing, because, and I say this all the time, Dr. King had a speech about interruptions and how they come daily, and everybody gets them, and nobody's not left out. Like everybody has their own issues. So it's just all about just trying to find a way.
I like that, the interruptions. So true. Well, it's funny when you talk, I feel like I'm like, oh, so calming. Is that when you read your children's book, I'm like, you got a soothing voice. No, I appreciate your honesty. One thing for me is like, we can Google anyone's stats online, but thank you so much for your honesty and being vulnerable and real about your experiences. Cause I don't want to, like, the conversations I always tell people, I'm like, if you're not going to tell like it is, I'm not interested in just reiterating all your great stats. So I really appreciate you sharing that side of you, and congrats on all your success. What a dream come true. And Craig and his magical basketball and the vision for what's next for you. I'm so excited. I'm excited to follow your journey and see where you end up, and what you create and how you pour back into your community is phenomenal. So thank you for being such a light worker in the world. We know we need that.
Well, I was just trying to do my part in the world, just trying to add that positivity. And I was just raised in that manner. And for me as a kid, I was always wanting to see not only myself do well, but others as well. And I believe there's never been a list of people that can be successful. We all can.
Yeah, there's more than enough to go around, right? Abundance, abundance, abundance. I love that. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Episode 25. I can't believe it. We just started this in May, and we've been doing I've been talking to about 2 different athletes a week, and everyone's coming forward. There's more to come, and I'm so excited that we were able to add you, Craig, to the list of athletes contributing to such an important conversation. So thank you so much for being here.
Jay, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Stay tuned for next week's athletes. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet, but they're coming. And have a great day, everyone.